Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive
Yeah.
into some more fascinating course material.
Neat.
We are tackling chapter 15 today, and this one is all about advertising and public relations.
It's a big one.
Yeah, this is a really meaty chapter, so we're going to have a lot to cover. But
Yeah.
luckily for you guys, we've got the amazing expert here with us today to help break it all down. And of course, you can always head over to gradeguru.nl for extra help.
That's right. Practice exams, chapter summaries, all the good stuff.
Exactly, so you can really ace those exams. All right, so we're going to jump right into it.
Let's do it.
And first up, we have advertising.
Okay.
I mean, this is something that we are all bombarded with on a daily basis, but when we think about it from like a marketing perspective,
Yeah.
what are some of the key things that we should be thinking about when it comes to advertising?
I think the first thing is always going back to the objective.
Oh.
Like, what are we trying to achieve with this advertising?
Right.
And really, we want to align those objectives with the product life cycle. Oh, that's interesting.
So, if it's a brand new product on the market,
Yeah.
we're probably going to be doing a lot of informative advertising,
Okay.
just letting people know, hey, this exists.
Right.
This is what it does.
Like what it is.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, like that big announcement.
Exactly.
Definitely. Right.
So think about the launch of a new foldable phone or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a whole new category.
Uh,
You need to educate people on what it is,
uh,
how it works, why they should want it.
right.
And then as competitors start to emerge,
Okay.
then you're going to shift more towards persuasive advertising.
Okay.
So that's where you start to really highlight those unique selling points.
I see.
Convince consumers that your brand is the best choice.
Like why theirs is the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe your foldable phone has a better camera,
Yeah.
a more durable hinge, whatever it is that sets it apart.
Okay.
And then finally, once the product is established and people know about it,
Mm-hmm.
it's been around for a while.
That's where reminder advertising comes in.
Okay. So this is just to kind of,
Keep it top of mind.
don't forget about us.
Exactly.
We're still here.
Like, think about those classic jingles or slogans that you just can't get out of your head.
Right. Yeah.
They're not necessarily giving you new information, but they're just keeping that brand awareness up.
Okay. So it's really all about staying relevant
Yeah,
in a very crowded market.
exactly.
I like that. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense in terms of the objectives, but then there's also the whole budget side of things.
Yeah,
I mean, how do companies actually determine how much
right.
to spend on advertising?
Well, it's tempting to think that just throwing more money at a campaign will automatically make it successful.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't there some magic formula?
Oh, if only.
Right.
But unfortunately, it's not that simple.
Okay.
You have to consider things like the target audience, the competitive landscape, the overall marketing goals.
Right.
And, nowadays consumers are just bombarded with ads from every direction.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
So it's not just about spending money, it's about spending it effectively
Right.
and reaching the right people with the right message at the right time.
So how do they break through all of that noise?
Right.
There's so much.
Well, that's where we see this interesting trend of Madison and Vine.
What is that?
So it's this merging of advertising and entertainment.
Okay.
The idea is to create content that people actually want to engage with
Okay. I see.
rather than just interrupting them with a traditional ad.
So it's like they're being entertained, but they're also
This
getting
is-
a message.
It's like a win-win.
Okay.
Like a really good example is the Lego movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was a huge box office hit.
I mean, who doesn't love Legos?
Exactly. And it was basically a giant ad for Lego, but it was done in such a clever and entertaining way that people loved it.
Right.
And then, of course, you have native advertising,
Okay.
which is all about seamlessly blending ads into the content people are already consuming.
So it's like those sponsored posts that you see on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's less intrusive and it feels more organic.
Okay. So we've talked about getting people's attention.
Right.
But what about the actual message itself?
Yeah.
What makes an advertising message truly effective?
Well, I think a key principle is to focus on benefits rather than just features.
Okay.
So it's not just about listing off what a product can do. It's about explaining how it can improve the consumer's life.
Right.
What's in it for me?
Yeah, like what problem are you solving for me?
Exactly.
Okay.
So instead of saying this fitness tracker counts your steps, you might say this fitness tracker helps you live a healthier, more active life.
Right.
You're appealing to their aspirations and desires.
Okay. So it's all about tapping into those emotions.
Exactly.
And I know there's also a lot of talk about advertising appeals.
Yeah,
Like making sure the message is meaningful and believable and distinctive.
absolutely.
Can you break those down a little bit?
Yeah.
Sure. So Meaningful means that the message resonates with the target audience. It speaks to their needs and values.
Okay.
Believable means that the message is credible and trustworthy. It's not making outlandish claims that people won't buy into.
Right.
And then distinctive means that the message sets the product apart from the competition.
Okay.
It highlights what makes it unique and special.
Okay, so you've got my attention with this meaningful message.
Right.
And I believe you.
Yeah.
What are some ways that advertisers can really, execute this
Oh my God.
message and bring it to life?
Well, that's where choosing the right execution style comes in. So
Yeah.
there's a whole range of different approaches they can take.
Like what?
Like, for example, you have the slice of life approach,
Okay.
which shows everyday people using the product in relatable situations.
Oh, okay.
So, it could be a family enjoying a meal together
Right.
or a group of friends hanging out.
Yeah.
The idea is to make the product feel like a natural part of people's lives.
Okay, so it's it fits seamlessly into your life?
Yeah. And then you have lifestyle advertising,
Yep.
which associates the product with a specific lifestyle or image.
Okay.
So, think about athletic wear brands showing fit and active people,
Right.
or luxury car commercials featuring successful individuals.
Okay.
It's all about tapping into those aspirations.
Right.
And then there's fantasy advertising.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, this one's all about creating a dreamlike world around the product.
Okay.
So think about those perfume ads that transport you to a romantic setting,
Mm,
or those travel commercials that make you feel like you're already on vacation.
right. Okay, and what about those ads that are just, really moody?
Ah, yes, those would be mood or image ads.
Okay.
They rely heavily on visuals and music to create a certain atmosphere or feeling.
Okay.
So you might have a car commercial with stunning scenery and dramatic music,
Right.
or a fragrance ad with a single striking image.
Okay.
It's all about evoking emotions rather than providing a lot of information.
Right, and then, of course, there's the ever-popular jingle.
Oh yeah, musical advertising.
Yes.
This one's all about creating catchy tunes that stick in your head.
It's very effective,
It is.
even if it's annoying sometimes.
Yeah, but you remember it.
Yeah.
And that's the point.
Right, and then you have personality symbol advertising,
Yes.
where a brand might use a celebrity or a character
Exactly.
to represent their product.
So think about like a sports star endorsing a shoe brand,
Right,
or an animated mascot that becomes synonymous with the company.
like the Geico Gecko.
Exactly.
Okay, and
Oh.
then there's the ones that I find really interesting, the technical expertise or scientific evidence ads.
Right. So this is where brands really try to establish credibility
Okay,
by highlighting their expertise or backing up their claims with scientific data.
right.
So you might have a toothpaste commercial featuring a dentist,
Right.
or a skincare ad that talks about clinically proven results.
Mhm.
It's all about building trust and confidence in the product.
And then there's also those testimonial ads where you have real people sharing their positive experiences
Exactly.
with the product or service.
So it could be weight loss ads featuring people who have achieved amazing transformations,
Right?
or customer reviews that highlight the benefits of a particular product.
Okay, so it's all about social proof.
Exactly.
People trust other people
Yeah.
more than they trust the brand themselves.
It's like word of mouth marketing, but on a larger scale.
Okay, so we've talked about all these different advertising approaches,
Right.
but with the rise of social media, are brands still creating all of their own content?
That's a good question.
Or are they tapping into the power of user-generated content?
Well, we're definitely seeing a shift towards consumer-generated content.
Okay.
So brands are encouraging their customers to create and share their own experiences with the product.
Okay.
It's authentic, it's engaging,
Right.
and it can be really effective.
So it's like turning your customers into brand ambassadors.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. So we've covered a lot of ground here in terms of the creative side of advertising.
We have.
But what about the more strategic side? How do companies decide where to actually place these messages?
Right.
It's not like they just randomly throw them out there.
No. It's a very deliberate process called media planning,
Okay.
and it involves carefully selecting the right media channels
Okay.
to reach the target audience.
Okay, so what are some of the key things that they consider when they're doing this media planning?
Well, first, they need to determine their reach, frequency, impact, and engagement goals.
Okay, can you break those down a little bit?
Sure. So reach refers to how many people will be exposed to the message.
Okay.
Frequency is how often they'll see it.
Mm-hmm.
Impact is the quality of that exposure.
Okay.
So, is it just a fleeting glance, or is it something that really grabs their attention?
Okay.
And then engagement is how much people interact with the ad.
Okay.
So, do they click on it? Do they share it? Do they comment on it?
Right. Okay, so once they have those goals in mind, how do they actually choose where to place their ads?
Well, they have a lot of options.
Yeah.
You have traditional media like television, radio, print,
Right.
and then you have digital media like websites, social media, streaming services,
Oh, wow.
and each channel has its own strengths and weaknesses.
Right. Yeah.
So it's about finding the right mix to reach the target audience.
Okay, so it's like a big puzzle
It is.
that they have to solve.
Yeah, and it's constantly evolving
Right.
because the media landscape is always changing.
Okay, so they've got this brilliant media plan. They've created these amazing ads.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it all comes down to results, right?
Yes.
Like, how do companies actually measure the return on their advertising investment?
Well, that's where we get into the world of advertising effectiveness and ROI.
Okay.
So it's not just about tracking sales, it's
Yeah.
also about measuring things like brand awareness,
Okay.
customer engagement,
No.
and overall brand perception.
So it's like, are people remembering the ads?
Yeah, are they having a positive reaction?
Oh, right.
Are they changing their behavior as a result of the ads?
Right.
There are a lot of different metrics that companies can use
Oh, yeah.
to gauge the success of their campaigns.
So it's not just about, like, did the ad lead to a sale?
Right.
It's also about, did it have,
The desired impact.
yeah, like a broader impact?
Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. So now we've talked about, like, who's creating these ads.
Yeah.
Or, like, how they're getting them out there. But
Yeah.
who's actually, like, doing all of this work?
Well, there are a couple of different approaches.
Okay.
Some companies have in-house advertising departments,
Okay.
so they have their own team of marketers who handle everything.
Right.
But other companies choose to outsource their advertising to agencies.
Okay.
So they'll hire an agency to develop and execute their campaigns.
Oh.
And agencies can bring a lot of specialized expertise and resources to the table.
Right. Okay. And what about companies that are operating on a global scale? Can they just use the same advertising campaigns in every country?
Oh, no. That's a recipe for disaster.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, you have to consider cultural differences, language differences,
Oh, right.
and even different regulations in different countries.
Yeah.
So what might work really well in one market could completely flop in another.
Right. So they have to be very sensitive to
Yeah,
those cultural nuances.
absolutely.
Okay. Wow. We have covered so much ground
I know.
when it comes to advertising,
It's a big topic.
but we are not done yet.
No, we're just getting started.
We still have to tackle the world of public relations.
All right, let's dive in.
So stay tuned for part 2 of our deep
I
dive
can't wait.
into chapter 15, where we will uncover the secrets of PR.
Sounds good.
And remember, if you need any extra help along the way, be sure to check out greatguru.nl
That's right.
for all your study needs.
We'll see you there.
All right, see you guys in part 2.
Bye.
Okay, so public relations PR. This is, I feel like a lot of people kind of get this confused or they don't really understand what it is.
Yeah, it definitely has a bit of a mysterious aura around it.
Right. They think it's just like, oh, getting your name in the paper or something like that. But
Right, we're like throwing parties,
yeah, exactly.
which is part of it.
Yeah.
But it's so much more than that.
Okay, so how would you define PR then?
Well, I think at its core, PR is all about building and managing relationships
Okay.
with various stakeholders.
Okay.
So that includes customers, investors, employees, the media, the general public, really anyone who has an interest in the company.
So it's about building trust and goodwill
Exactly.
with all these different groups.
Yeah, it's about creating a positive image and reputation for the company.
Okay. That makes sense, but how does it differ from advertising?
Right, because they both seem to be about influencing perceptions.
Yeah.
But the key difference is that advertising is paid media,
Oh.
while PR is earned media.
What does that mean?
So with advertising, you're paying to have your message placed in front of an audience.
Okay, like buying a billboard.
Exactly.
Okay.
But with PR, you're trying to get your message out there through other channels,
Okay.
like media coverage or word of mouth.
So it's more about like persuasion
Yeah.
and getting people to talk about you.
Exactly. So you're not controlling the message as directly as you would with advertising.
Right.
But the upside is that earned media is often seen as more credible and trustworthy
Okay, that makes sense.
because it's coming from a third party rather than the company itself.
Right, so it's like a recommendation
Exactly.
from a friend.
And it can be much more cost-effective than advertising.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So what are some of the specific things that PR professionals do then?
Well, they use a variety of tools.
Like what?
One of the most common is the press release,
Okay.
which is basically a news announcement that's sent to journalists
Okay.
with the hope of getting media coverage.
So it's like, hey, look at us, we're doing something newsworthy. Okay.
And then there are special events,
Okay.
which can range from product launches to conferences to community gatherings.
So like creating a buzz.
Yeah, it's about creating an experience that people will remember and associate with the brand.
Okay. And what about those like fancy brochures and videos that companies put out?
Ah, yes. Those would be considered written and audiovisual materials.
Okay.
And they're really important for communicating the company's story and values.
Okay. So it's like showcasing who they are.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then you have corporate identity materials,
Okay.
which are things like the logo, the color scheme,
Mm-hmm.
the fonts, the overall visual identity of the brand.
So it's like creating a consistent look and feel.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then last but not least, you have goodwill contributions,
Okay.
which are basically ways that the company gives back to the community.
Okay.
So this could involve charitable donations, sponsoring events, or supporting local causes.
So it's like showing that they care about more than just profits.
Right. It's about being a good corporate citizen.
Okay. So those are all the tools in their toolbox.
Yes.
But how do they actually put them into action?
Ah, well, that's where we get into the art of PR strategy and campaign development.
Okay. So let's dive into that then.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got the tools. Now let's talk strategy.
Okay.
Like how do PR professionals actually create these campaigns that are going to get results?
Well, it all starts with a clear understanding of the goals.
Okay.
What are we trying to achieve with this campaign?
Right.
Are we trying to raise awareness of a new product?
Okay.
Are we trying to improve the company's reputation?
Okay.
Are we trying to build relationships with a specific target audience?
Right. So it's all about like having a very specific objective in mind.
Yeah, you need a roadmap.
Okay.
And then once you know where you're going, you can start to develop the tactics.
Okay. So what are some of those tactics?
Well, one of the most important is media relations.
Okay.
So this involves working with journalists and media outlets
Okay.
to get positive coverage for the company.
Okay. So it's like building those relationships with the reporters.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then you have social media,
Okay.
which is a really powerful tool for PR these days.
Yeah.
You can use social media to engage directly with your target audience,
Right.
share news and updates,
Okay.
address concerns,
Mhm.
and even build a community around your brand.
Okay. And what about those events that we were talking about?
Ah, yes. Events are a great way to create a buzz
Okay.
and generate excitement.
Yeah.
You can have product launches,
Okay.
conferences, parties,
Yeah.
all sorts of things.
So it's about creating an experience that
Exactly.
people will remember.
Yeah, and it's a chance for people to interact with the brand in a more personal way.
Okay. So we've talked about the goals,
Yeah.
the tactics, but how do we know if it's actually working?
Right.
Like, how do you measure the effectiveness of a PR campaign?
Well, it can be a bit tricky
Okay.
because it's not always as straightforward as measuring sales,
Right.
but there are definitely ways to track progress. Well, one way is to monitor media coverage.
Yeah.
So you can track how many articles or stories are being published about the company
Okay.
and what the tone of that coverage is.
So it's not just about like how many times you're mentioned.
No, it's about the quality of those mentions.
Right.
Are they positive? Are they negative? Are they neutral?
Okay.
And then you can also track social media engagement.
Okay.
So you know how many people are talking about the brand online?
Okay.
Are they sharing your content?
Yep.
Are they leaving positive comments?
Okay.
And there are also more sophisticated tools that can measure things like brand sentiment.
Okay.
So, is the public perception of the brand improving?
So it's really about looking at the big picture
Yeah,
and seeing how the PR efforts are impacting the overall brand image.
exactly.
Wow, this has been so insightful.
Oh, that.
I feel like I've learned so much about advertising and public relations.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
But most importantly, I think our listeners are now well equipped to tackle that exam.
I hope so.
And, of course, if they need any extra help along the way,
Right.
they can always head over to greatguru.nl
That's right.
for practice exams, chapter summaries, and all sorts of other great resources.
Exactly.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today.
It was my pleasure.
It's been a really fantastic deep dive.
Yeah, I agree.
And we will see you all next time
See you then.
for another deep dive into the world of marketing.
Sounds good.